What is going on, everyone? Thank you for stopping by to listen to me ramble about a lightsaber install. So today I'm going to talk about an install commission that I completed on an 89 Sabers Depa. So I think this is also a Korbanth offers this hilt. It is, I believe it's the same hilt. There's just a different clamp card, I think, but it's essentially the same hilt, right? So I have done a chassis for this hilt a number of years ago, and I have not revisited it since. The client for this particular commission sent the eco version of the chassis for this hilt, the goth version, with this hilt when they sent it to me. The chassis, unfortunately, was a little bit damaged. It seemed like it was a little bit warped. Perhaps it was like left out in a car. There was some like warping. It just didn't fit into the chassis correctly, right? So the customer was keen on getting a new chassis design. So it was, I was looking forward to designing a new chassis for this particular hilt because it is a really cool looking hilt, and it was a relatively straightforward design for this one, right? So I do want to come into Fusion and talk about the chassis, and then obviously we will come up top, talk about how to use it, and then we'll do a demo, and then we'll get out of here, right? So anyhow, let's come into Fusion, talk about the chassis. All right, so here is the chassis that I designed for this hilt. It is in two parts. Let's start at the bottom, right? So this is, the internal diameter of this hilt is just a hair under 27 millimeters. So unfortunately, you're not able to get a 28 millimeter speaker in this one, which is fine. You can do a fully enclosed 24 millimeter speaker, right? So we've got a 24 millimeter speaker down here, okay? I did do a window on one side of the chassis for a 2020 Neopixel strip. I'm trying to switch up this window, right? So with my resin chassis, I used to have this like stock vent window greebly that I always used, and I just cannot use that vent in FDM. So I'm trying to play around with different vents, different like windows, different slits that I can do with FDM that come out looking better, right? So I'm just kind of trying to play around with different designs, right? So here is, why do I keep zooming in further? Why? I'm so bad at navigating in Fusion, right? So there is a window for a 2020 Neopixel strip with some Mylar in front of it for diffusion. Around the other side, we just have a bunch of greeblies, right? So I did print this chassis with a 0.2 nozzle in FDM. I have been printing with a 0.4 nozzle in PLA carbon fiber, right? But you can't step down to a 0.2 and print with carbon fiber because you're gonna get clogs. It's just not recommended. I haven't even tried it. So, but I wanted to try a 0.2 nozzle just to see what kind of detail I was able to get. And I'm really, really surprised with the level of detail I was able to get with a 0.2. Like this printer, this Carbon X1, it just continues to amaze me with the amount of speed that I'm getting with my prints, but also the level of detail, right? So it took a little bit longer than what I get printing times with a 0.4, but this was really cool. So we've got greeblies here. I did do some like notches down the spine of this chassis. Proffie board does sit in this tray. I did put some onboard red button tactile switches on this chassis so it can quote be used, quote unquote, used outside of the hilt. There's no like PCB emitter on this, but there is an OLED. So hypothetically, you can scroll through your fonts and activate the chassis outside of the hilt if you want to. Kill switch is here, battery tray with my logo embossed in it. And that's it, right? There is a notch down the side of the upper part of the chassis. There are 3 brass screws on the outside of the hilt. Typically, these are used to clock the chassis if there is an all-in-one chassis set up for this hilt. For this one, it is not necessary to clock the chassis. It doesn't matter which orientation you put the chassis in. However, I did not want to cut or grind down those screws. So this notch is just going to help that chassis slide in place, right? Up top, there is just a simple switch and PCB holder. At the bottom here, we have a male end of our 6-rail PCB, and then I have 2 holes for my red button tactile switches, and that is what the spring plunger switches on the hilt itself make a connection to. And up top, we've got a lit V4 PCB emitter from CCsabers. And that's it. Nice and simple. Let's come up top. All right, so here it is. Here is the chassis, right? So I did a pass of pewter rub and buff on this. I did paint some of the accents as well. There is that Neopixel strip behind that window. There are those greeblies. Again, like this is not a resin greebly panel that I've kind of been doing in some of my other chassis. That is all FDM. I'm really, really shocked at the level of detail that I was able to get. I'm really happy with that, right? Really, really surprised. So, battery tray, spring side is your negative. You want to rest your battery in that battery tray. Let's hit that kill switch. That's cool.
You can call me Luke. I see some.
Scared me for a second. There is that OLED, right? If you don't hear anything, hit that kill switch. There's that lit Neopixel strip. So different fonts have different on animations on that OLED. I believe I put different boot. Yeah. I did put my logo as the boot animation, selfishly. All right. So once you get your battery in, to put your hilt in, you want to unthread your pommel. Okay. You can kind of try and line up, there are those 3 brass screws that I was talking about. Line up that notch with those screws, and it'll just kind of find its way in automatically. Pommel, there's no like ring or anything. You just want to thread in your pommel all the way until it stops, and you're ready to go. Let's come down to the bottom. Let's put a blade in it. All right, so there is a single set screw in the front here that will serve as your blade retention. I have a blade plug in here that I put in for the glam shots, right? Nice deep blade socket, 1-inch blade holder. You want to put your blade down until it's resting on those PCB pins. I probably don't even need to tighten this. This is a tight blade socket. Tighten your blade, tighten your set screw, and then you're ready to go. See what else we put on here.
Crystal focus.
One more.
Lord Vader.
Nice feeling hilt. All right, that's it. So that is the 89 Sabers Depa with a custom chassis. Whoops. It's a tight blade socket. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to revisit this one. It is a really, really classy looking hilt. So anyhow, to the customer, thank you very much for trusting me with your hilt. So if anyone has any questions about this particular chassis, please do not be a stranger. I will be adding this to my online shop. A lot of people have been asking about this hilt actually over the past year. I've gotten a lot of requests about this hilt because I think it's a popular hilt. It's a relatively inexpensive hilt to purchase empty, so I can understand why a lot of people have been asking about it. So I will be adding this to my online store if people want to purchase the STL or have me print it off for them. So I will be adding that shortly. So anyhow, thank you everyone for watching. With that being said, may the force be with you always. Have a good one, everybody.